Time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. And joining us are the Sun's football editor Charlie Wyatt and the Mirror's chief football writer John Cross. Welcome to you both. Let's quickly run through the back pages. Well, starting with the Sun, I like the headline right at the top. Thomas Tuchel, Dan Burn, the match winner in the cup final. He thought his England call-up was an absolute wind-up. The Sun also quotes Virgil van Dijk saying Liverpool have been given a real jolt by that cup final defeat. Back page of The Guardian, Newcastle's Wembley win could be followed by more Champions League football if the season ends well. The Guardian are reporting that would earn Eddie Howe a £4 million windfall. At the top, they also touch on the Lucas Paquetá hearing and the potential for serious, severe consequences. This is The Express. Plenty on Newcastle and on England too. They report that fans are unhappy at Manchester United after season ticket prices of around 5% were announced for adults to watch the men's team. The Telegraph reports Anthony Iraola and Marco Silva are in the frame for Tottenham if they decide to replace Ange Postecoglou as their manager. There's also a big picture of Rory McIlroy after his St Patrick's Day win at the Players' Championship. Well, I think what we should do is start with Newcastle. It's the story that everyone's been writing about, the biggest story in Toon. I think we'll focus on, firstly, 70 years without a domestic trophy, John. Those celebrations were wild and not completely unexpected.
No, I think we saw them coming, didn't we? I always like to correct at this point and say 56 years, because, of course, they did win European trophy in '69.
The Fairs
and so
Cup, I'll give you that.
Look over that. But yeah, absolutely. But I tell you what a fantastic day at Wembley. It was brilliant. And I'm so glad that it's reflected ongoing across the newspapers, you know, tomorrow, really. It is well worth it. I think it was a brilliant game, brilliant occasion. Newcastle, absolutely magnificent. You felt that pent-up tension, you know, and sort of a desire, didn't you, to end that massive, long 70-year wait. And I just think it's reflected in the papers. Listen, I think what also we must touch on is what a fantastic weekend and occasion for the Carabao Cup. And, you know, the EFL, this is their kind of pride and joy. And basically, you know, it's the trophy that they you know, sort of kind of parade and hold on to, and rightly so. It's always contested by the big boys. I always think you get to see a fantastic final, and Newcastle's story in winning that, I think, is something else. I think it's a fantastic thing that really deserves. I mean, there's talk of a parade, isn't there, on March the 29th? And my word, do those Newcastle players deserve it. And I tell you what's more, those Newcastle fans will absolutely love it. I think it's brilliant. I think it's been a brilliant weekend for the Carabao Cup too.
How refreshing is it, Charlie, to have a new name, not just 70 years, 56 years, whatever it is, but not one of the established few winning a trophy?
I think it's hugely important. First of all, because it's great for Newcastle. Secondly, I think it gives some of the other clubs hope. And, you know, we've had some great finals in the past, but they've been dominated by, you know, Manchester City, Liverpool and Chelsea. And that's why, as John said, the atmosphere was so great. And I think equally, there's a good chance of us seeing it reflected in the FA Cup this year. If we get one or two different teams into the semi-finals or even the final, I know Manchester City is still in it, it will be, you know, absolutely, you know, wonderful and really, really important that we do have different teams go deep into the cups. I think it's really important that Pep Guardiola has taken the Carabao Cup seriously. So did Jose Mourinho, because we had a few years where, you know, it was a bit disappointing. But look, it's been another really strong year for the Carabao Cup. And yeah, Newcastle deserved winners. And yeah, it was a wonderful occasion yesterday. And I'm sure it's the first of a few more trophies for Newcastle over the next few years.
Yep, so well-earned trophy for Newcastle, not before time. And there's two papers that are focusing on Eddie Howe and his reward for winning this trophy, but also if he could steer Newcastle back into the Champions League at the end of this season, John. I think he'll probably be hoping he's a Guardian reader and that they're accurate, because the Guardian's suggesting he's due a $4 million bump up and the Sun are suggesting it's a $3 million if they can get into the Champions League.
Hey, listen, what's £1 million between friends? But look, I actually think that if it was 4 million, I think Eddie Howe would still be worth every penny. Honestly, I think the job that he has done at Newcastle, at St James's Park, for that club has just been nothing short of absolutely miraculous, frankly. I mean, when you consider that what we're talking about 3 years ago, basically he's taken over a team fighting against relegation. He's already guided them into into Champions League football, and now he's ended that long wait for a trophy, which is brilliant to see. This story is dependent, we read in the Guardian, about them qualifying for the Champions League for next season. And if you look at it, surely it will be the top five. I'm pretty sure it will be that get a Champions League place for next season from the Premier League teams. Surely, as long as Newcastle can kind of get themselves back to earth, which I'm sure with good guidance from players like, sort of kind of Dan Burn, Kieran Trippier, talking about the kind of need to kind of get back and refocus and get themselves back in the Champions League, then I feel sure that they will do that. Their strike force alone, I think, terrifies most Premier League opponents. And I just think that their midfield absolutely monstered Liverpool on the day, didn't it? It really kind of overran them. And they were so well drilled in defence. And that's all, in my view, down to Eddie Howe. I think it's a brilliant job that he's done. He's made them interesting, very, very exciting to watch as well. At first, he was quite defensive, but now he's sort of kind of gone all-out attack where you couldn't help but do that with Isaac, Murphy, Gordon and the like. Fantastic players. What a job he's done, honestly. He will go down in Newcastle legend, yeah, honestly, and he deserves every single penny. And it's fantastic, by the way, to see an English coach absolutely thrive at the top level as well, showing that there is hope and sort of plenty of optimism for English coaching moving forward.
Yeah, he signed a new contract last summer amid interest from the Football Association over the vacant England job. Could have been so different when we look at England. Let's focus on England. They've got Thomas Tuchel in charge, but one of Newcastle's favourite sons is in the squad for the first time. The Sun's headline, Thomas Tuchel. Dan Burn thought when he got the text from the New England boss, Charlie, it was a wind-up. He said he thought he was being catfished.
If you'd have said to Dan Burn at the start of the season that you're going to win the Carabao Cup, he would not have believed you. If you then said to Dan Burn at the start of the season that you're going to win the Carabao Cup, but you're not going to actually be able to celebrate properly because you've got to report to St George's Park the next morning because you've been called up to the England squad, I think he'd have wondered what someone had been drinking. It's an extraordinary story. It's a brilliant story. Again, whereas Eddie Howe has, given hope to many British coaches who are being ignored, outrageously so, I think right down to the Championship. Dan Burn is giving hope to every single player, a bit like Chris Powell when he got his call up by Sven-Göran Eriksson in 2001 when he was sort of Charlton left back. It's a very similar story. And Dan Burn proved beyond doubt yesterday by playing so well against Liverpool that if Tuchel needs to put him in against Albania and Latvia at Wembley, not forgetting John Stones and Harry Maguire are both injured, he will not let England down. It's going to be an amazing moment if and when. I'm sure he probably will get his first cap. And yeah, Thomas Tuchel's there to welcome Dan Burn and a few of the other players as well. It's one of my favourite stories of the season.
Yeah, great story for Dan Burn. An unlikely hero for Newcastle, you might say. Could he be an unlikely hero for England? Look at the back page of the Metro. Fancy ending another trophy drought, Dan. That's Thomas Tuchel to Dan Burn. England haven't won a trophy in some time either, John.
I love that. That's a good one, that really has made me chuckle, actually. I think that's super. It's just what you need. Listen, I was at Thomas Tuchel's press conference on Friday, and you actually felt as if Thomas Tuchel was almost sort of saying, look, Jordan Henderson is in to kind of really provide a bit of experience, stability, feed into the dressing room spirit. And he took a similar kind of tone with Dan Burn as well. And sort of saying, Dan Burn, what a kind of, energetic and sort of kind of, he's almost the glue to put dressing rooms together and sort of foster that team spirit. But where I think that we can also, recognise, myself included, is that basically Dan Burn showed us at Wembley on Sunday just what a good defender he is as well. He had an absolutely fantastic game. 32 years old, 6'7", sometimes looks a bit ungainly, but my word, did he kind of own that pitch on Sunday. It was absolutely fantastic performance, and I love to see him completely dominate. Yes, he's a good character, but he's also a really, really good defender that deserves so much respect. And just to add to Charlie's point, I do think it's worth noting that I think the players were kind of given a rough time, report-up time of about 11:30, and basically bearing in mind that Newcastle was staying in Hertfordshire, it's quite a long sort of kind of drive. And I'm told that Dan Burn was one of the first through the door at St George's Park. And that, again, shows his enthusiasm. Just cannot wait to get started. This is a real boy next door story, and this is why we love it.
He would have had to stoop to get through that door. If we have a look at the Express, Tuchel to shake up England training. What are we expecting from Tuchel, the England coach, Charlie?
Well, he's going to, he's always going to change some things. I don't think you'd expect a manager to do exactly the same thing as the previous one. I'll be up at St George's Park along with John tomorrow. The players are going to be speaking. And normally under Southgate, the players would have been training in the morning. And then they'd have some food, have a bit of a doze sometimes, and then speak to us about 4:30. And it's the other way around tomorrow. They're going to be doing their media duties at 11 in the morning. And then they're going to be training around 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And it's going to be a similar pattern, I think, for the training before the games as well. So, and I'm sure there'll be other subtle changes that Tuchel will want to bring in over the next few days, over the next few months, really, with England, and because he'll want to sort of put his own stamp on things. So, there'll be some other sort of changes as well, but that's the key one in terms of when the players will be training.
Yeah, we get a first look at it Friday night against Albania. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at more of the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. Plenty to go at in the Times, who cover the season ticket price rises for adults at Manchester United. That's on the way. stress. He denies all the charges. First thing that grabs my attention here, Charlie, is the severity of the punishment that the Football Association is seeking. They want a lifetime ban. That does seem severe, doesn't it?
It's severe, but it's severe charges. And as you said, he's denying them. But if he was found guilty, then I think it'd be the correct punishment. Every single footballer that comes into the British game knows the rules, and it's spelt out to them all the time that you cannot bet on games. You cannot tell friends or family. All players know this. Even as journalists, if we cover tennis, for example, we sign a form and we get accreditation that you're not allowed to bet, and you know that, and it's ever so clear. So I think the FA are right to pursue this punishment if he's found guilty.
So the FA right to pursue this punishment, John, but at the same time, the FA and all of football, and indeed the company that we all work for, takes an enormous connection to betting. It's everywhere you look around football. Doesn't seem balanced.
Yeah, look, Chris, it can be at times an uncomfortable relationship, can't it? Because there's no doubt about it, betting companies almost make the world go round in football. The big sponsorship deals. It has to be stressed then that basically the Premier League are moving away from kind of front shirt sponsorship deals with betting companies. But you turn on the TV, you see the advertising, it's tied into football. You see former people like, I know Peter Shilton, and what a fantastic sort of kind of amount of campaigning that he does to raise awareness and kind of, going through his addictions, for example. And, here we are promoting it within football, and yet, when the footballer kind of is betting and gambling, then we're seeking the hardest and strongest punishments. Look, I think it has to be that. I do think it has to be that, but I do think we have to be, more aware to it, more alive to it, offer more support and insight into it. And, because Charlie's right that basically it's not just footballers, but it's literally every club employee, it's every member of kind of almost the football community. Everyone working in football cannot bet. It's the unwritten rule, because it can throw up, accusations of wrongdoing. And, Paqueta, I know, basically sort of denies all charges. We already know, don't we, that basically, if this takes 2 to 3 weeks, which was estimated, the hearing, then he can play on during that time while he fights to clear his name. But it really is, I think it exposes a difficult and uncomfortable relationship, which football cannot stop looking at and re-examining, because honestly, I don't think enough is being done, and the awareness, I think, is not being taken seriously enough.
Yeah, speaking of difficult and uncomfortable relationships, what about Manchester United? If we look at the Daily Express back page tomorrow, take a hike is the headline. Fans revolt after ticket prices go up at Manchester United. Third season in a row that adult season ticket prices will go up, after previously, before that, was an 11-year price freeze, Charlie. It does seem that Manchester United can't seem to buy positive PR at the moment, but fans are never going to respond positively to price hikes, are they?
No, they're not. I mean, Manchester United aren't the only ones at the moment. Equally, there are some other clubs that are announcing price freezes. United, of course, have got to justify these increases because of the number of staff they've laid off and their financial situation, which is not great. Even though, on one hand, Jim Ratcliffe was saying that, they were struggling to whether they'd last till Christmas, and then, of course, the next day announcing a potential £2 billion stadium. But I think the ticket prices obviously hits every fan. I know that they're not going to increase the charges for under-16s, but it is tough to take because it is incredibly expensive to watch English football, particularly in the Premier League. The home games, I know that away fans only have to pay £30. And it's, let's not forget the clubs do get huge sums of money from broadcasting, absolutely colossal sums. And, Manchester United are paying the price, although they're not the only ones, for some really poor recruitment and paying several footballers £200,000, £300,000 a week. Yet, they're hitting their loyal fans. So, United won't be the last team over the next few weeks to announce a price hike. But yeah, it's. I think it's pretty sad, but equally, it's not unexpected.
No, perhaps not unexpected. The Times goes with fury at United price hike, 5% increase, branded offensive by supporters. John, offensive?
Yeah, the Man United Supporters Trust have been really strong on this, and basically really strong statement, powerful statement, and I do think it feeds into a lot of what fans are saying at the moment, that basically clubs are losing track with reality here. They're making the point that United are languishing in 13th place. And it's the fans, it's on the fans basically to make up the kind of for the errors which are being made at kind of recruitment and boardroom level. And basically it is too much. Listen, yes, we've they've frozen some of the concession tickets there. But I think if you put it into real terms, you are talking about a £2.50 rise on average per match ticket. I think you are talking about 5%. And I think I've seen somewhere saying that United sort of saying it is close to inflation. Well, inflation's 3%. So I don't know quite how that sort of adds up, really. So I actually think it's really, really important for the newspapers to cover this in the way that they do, to shine a spotlight on it, because I think, for a while, kind of clubs were able to push up prices, and it's gone up so much in the last few years. It really has spiraled out of control. And I do think it's one that actually the newspapers should stay on top of and cover really, strongly and powerfully. Clubs like Liverpool have frozen their season tickets. Tottenham, you can argue all day about kind of Tottenham and sort of already having expensive season tickets, but they didn't need to, and they have frozen. I think Brentford, another. Arsenal have put theirs up. United putting theirs up. Honestly, it's too much. And I know that they're trying to balance the books, and PSR is a big thing, and that they will refer back to that and balancing the books. But honestly, I do think it's a big misstep from some of these clubs to put up the prices by so much. It really is, I think, a serious area of judgment.
You mentioned Liverpool freezing their tickets. Let's focus on the Sun's back page. Liverpool skipper's rally cry. Virgil van Dijk, red alert. He's warned that Liverpool must work their backsides off to stop the world from sinking after Sunday's cup final defeat. It does seem like this brilliant season, only 3 weeks ago, is petering out. They'll say petering out with a Premier League title. I'm sure they'll be happy with that. But it's not quite what it was a few weeks ago, Charlie.
But Virgil van Dijk, I think it was a message. He spoke in the interview area, the mix zone afterwards, and it was a message to the supporters, but also his teammates, just to say we've got to get back to those levels. It's obviously been an incredible season. No one expected Liverpool to be at the top, or certainly, and not this far ahead. So, they're going to win the title. Of course they are. So it was a bit of a tap on the shoulder, really, from Van Dijk to his teammates. He also says in that same interview where he does feel that they could win the title in 5 games' time. That would be Tottenham. And that's, of course, expecting that Arsenal would win all their games. And looking at their form this season, you can't really bank on Arsenal to do anything, can you? So I think Liverpool, they just want to get over the line and obviously finally celebrate that title, which, of course, they were not able to do when they won it in 2020.
Yeah, COVID times, of course. Now, we think they're going to be Premier League champions, John, but what does the Liverpool team look like next season for you?
Well, it's a really interesting one, Chris, actually, I must say, because I do think that, Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think, goes to Real Madrid. I think for a long time, we've felt as if Virgil van Dijk would sign and stay. I'd like to think that will still happen. But what about Mo Salah? He's been by far the best player in the Premier League this season. But his age, he turns, I think, 33 in the summer. Liverpool have to think on a financial level as well about about the length of the deal, the size of the deal. Salah is absolutely world class. He's been on a different level to every single player. And I think they've got to get that deal right, for the club and for Salah. So at the moment, there's no guarantees. I think that's the issue. But I just think Arne Slot has done such a remarkable job in his first full season as Liverpool manager. Yes, this time last week, they were on course for 3 trophies, and now it'll be 1. But I tell you, honestly, to do it in your first season in English football in the Premier League, that is some achievement, honestly. And so many other clubs, I think, are jealous and kind of can't quite understand how he's done this brilliantly with his squad management and rotation. It just felt as if they ran out of legs on Sunday at Wembley. But I do think we'll see exits and incomings, and they're being linked a little bit with Isak, aren't they? I can't believe that one after the glory at Wembley. But I think we'll feel a nice touch about Liverpool. But what a season that they've had! Remarkable.
We'll end the show with Rory McIlroy winning the Players' Championship on St Patrick's Day, Charlie. Great moment for him. All the eyes will be on Rory McIlroy, no doubt, as he heads to the Masters in 3 weeks' time. No pressure, eh?
No, I mean, he's getting £3.5 million, but that's nothing really. For him, it's just a boost to his confidence. It's his biggest individual win since 2019. So a really important day for him. And yeah, that's giving him, a real confidence boost for the Masters next month.
Yeah, so Rory McIlroy gets it done on St Patrick's Day. Had to come back for a Monday playoff, 3 holes, beat JJ Spawn. Poor old JJ Spawn put the ball in the water on that famous 17th hole at Sawgrass. So McIlroy, a 2-time champion of the Players' Championship. We are out of time for the programme, gentlemen. Thanks for having your company. Charlie Wyatt, John, we will do it all again soon. If you missed any of the show, there's another chance to see Back Pages tonight at hour. Of course, it's available as a podcast too. Download Back Pages on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You know that.